All right, ladies, let's make us some sympathy cards. The first card we're going to be creating is with the lovely designer series paper and 2 stamped and fussy cut out flowers along with some black sprigs from behind. So let's get started and pull out our card base, which is smoky slate. And we are going to layer down the black cardstock and the designer series paper. So let's get our adhesive and add that down first. Okay. Just going to put down the basic black onto the cardstock and then place on the designer series paper on top. Okay. So we have that all layered down. That's all we need to do for this portion. We're going to set this aside. Okay. And we're going to bring in the strip of basic smoky slate. And the reason that I have that is I'm going to be placing on the gold and silver metallic twine. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them both together and I'm going to create a bow on one end. Now this ribbon is a little bit slippery, so you're going to want to make the knot in the center of your bow a little tight. So I'm going to slide that over, just double check, and I'm going to tighten that up. Okay. And tighten that up. And what I'm going to do is actually the bow is going to sit to the left side of this strip of cardstock. So I'm just going to take the 2 pieces and tape it around the back with some Scotch tape. So there's the gold placed down. I'm going to put the silver and tape that down also. Okay. Add that. And I'm going to run the ribbon around, have a little bit extra, and I'm going to again tape it around the back. Okay. All right. So I have the bow that sits on the left side. So if I bring my card base back in, you'll see that it should fit all the way across, just off center and down a little bit. So I'm going to add that, put some adhesive down. I want to make sure it is well stuck down. It doesn't want to seem to stick on the Scotch tape, so I'm going to use some adhesive dots. So I want to make sure that there is a good connection of adhesive onto the DSP. Okay. So I have that, and like I said, off center a little bit. If you want, you can actually put a little adhesive dot under the ribbon. Okay, so it's just down a little bit from the center. So I'm going to set this aside now, and I'm going to do some stamping. I have some basic, very vanilla cardstock and a strip that I'm going to put my sentiment on. So I'm going to stamp 2 flowers in Bumblebee. Okay. And I'm going to stamp a sentiment on this piece of very vanilla in black memento ink. And I'm going to use with Deepest Sympathy from the Peaceful Moments stamp set. Okay, and I'm going to stamp that in memento. Okay, and I'm actually going to fussy cut that out. So I'm just going to cut this around. And it will sit on the tag. You can also have it either punched out with a tag die, or you can have it just straight across. Okay, so I'm just going to cut that out. And then I'm going to fussy cut out these two flowers. Okay, there we go. Now, what I need next is I'm going to have a piece of basic gray, and I am going to punch out just a piece for the tag. I'm going to go back to the flower, and I'm going to stamp on the flower in some smoky slate color. I'm going to make sure that it is no color left on. And I'm going to use smoky slate, and I'm just going to stamp just some background on the tag itself. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the sentiment on top, use some dimensionals to secure it down. If you want, you can just use the adhesive and place it straight on. What I've also done is punched out some black sprigs from the sprig punch, and I'm just going to add those to behind the flowers, a little bit on the top. Okay, and I'm just going to adhere them on the back with some Scotch tape. I'm going to take this last one, I'm going to rip it in half. I just want 3 on the top and 3 on the bottom. Make sure it's well secured. Okay. And what I have now are my elements to bring back onto the card. So what I'm going to do is I am going to make sure I have some dimensionals placed on the back of the flowers so that's well secured down. And I'm going to angle it so that this top one, oh, I guess I could had them in the wrong spot. I'm going to just move them over a little bit. With the Scotch tape it works a little easier. So I'm going to have that, oh, just a little off. Okay, I'm going to have that so that it comes up roughly in the top in the right area. And this one will come roughly on the bottom and the left. That's where the sprigs will land. Okay, so I'm going to have that over the ribbon. And thereabouts, I can angle this where the 2 stems meet. I can hide it with this tag here. I'm going to add enough dimensionals to make sure that it is well secured. Okay, just touch it up a little bit and on top of the flower. And there we go, that is one of the cards done. I forgot to add a couple of little pearls onto the flowers. That just adds a little bit of finishing. Get the pearls right in the middle. There we go. Oops, that keeps falling around. But I think the pearls just add a little bit of design to the card. So pretty. There we go. Now the card is finished. What we're going to do on the second card, it has a basic black card base. There is a basic gray and some designer series paper along with a little bit of gold foil. We also still have, again, the very vanilla cardstock, and this will be our sentiment tag. We're going to work on the the basic gray cardstock, and I'm going to bring in the Memento black ink. And in the stamp set is this kind of corner piece, and that's what we're going to use, is that corner piece. Okay. I'm going to ink up the corner piece, and I'm doing that in Memento black, and I'm going to be placing that in the top left corner. Okay. I'm going to ink it up again. And this time I'm going to do it roughly 1 inch in from the right side. There we go. So you'll notice that there is a space on the right side. Let's put our cap on that. I'm going to take my designer series paper. I'm going to put some adhesive on, and I am going to put it on the gold foil. Now if I lay this on top, for me this is a little thick. If you like it that thick, that's fine. I'm going to cut it down a little bit more, so it can show off that beautiful stamp. Okay. And all I'm going to do is glue that down on the right side. Okay. And then I shall glue this onto the card base. Now you can glue it either this way if you prefer, or you can turn it and have it the other way. So I'm just going to do it the other way, just for being different. Okay, so that looks beautiful just as it is, but we need a tag. So there in comes the very vanilla, and what I'm going to do is I want to cut it down to 1 3/4 so that it will fit through the tag, the punch itself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add some decoration to this, and I am going to bring in some smoky slate. Oops. And I'm just going to stamp some flowers all the way through, just as a design. Okay. And let's see if I can get the sentiment on. And I'm going to put the sentiment in black ink. There we go. Just fits right on. Because I cut down this strip of paper down to 1 3/4, I can now slip it through the top of the punch, grab it from the bottom, and pull and make it a longer card. I'm just going to punch it like that. Now it has the square edge on the bottom, and I want to get rid of that, so I'm going to turn my tag around. The words are facing up and upside down, and I'm going to feed it through again, and I'm going to pull a little bit on the top. Oops, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to feed it in this way. That was for another card we were going to do that for. Going to feed it in. See how it slips right in? And just punch. So it's a little longer, but it still has that beautiful edge on the bottom. Okay. We're going to bring this back in, and I am going to get some gold ribbon. I'm going to cut this in half actually. And I'm just going, you can make a bow or you can just kind of slide it in and see if I can make a bow on this. I think my fingers are a little bit too big to make a bow on this. Alright, let's try. Okay, it's not working. Okay, after some convincing, I got half a bow. So let's just tuck that underneath. I'll cheat and have that underneath. There we go. Just going to glue that down. And grab our dimensionals so that the sentiment will pop up. There we go. And I'm just going to have that on a bit of an angle on top. Again, we're going to bring in our pearls. Add a little bit there. There. And that's it. So that is the finished of the second card. What do you think? All right, let's roll around to the third card. Okay, we do have, again, our basic black card base, some whisper white, basic white, and some extra scrap pieces. And what we're going to do is we are going to start with the basic white, and we are going to take a look at the image of the flower, and we're going to be using some smoky slate for this. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to do 3 flowers on this page. Okay, and it's going to be in a V shape. So if you follow it around, you can see the V shape there. We still need this flower. We need to clean it off because we're going to be doing another color. I'm going to bring in the pale papaya, and I'm going to ink it up, and I'm going to stamp it on that scrap piece of paper. Okay. Once I have it stamped, I'm going to be fussy cutting this little flower out. All right, so we got the flower cut out. What I want to do next is I am going to punch out a piece of the tag. Okay. Again, with the smoky slate, I'm just going to stamp one flower image on the tag. I'm going to place a sentiment on the tag in the Memento black ink. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to assemble some of this all together. I'm going to take the basic white with the image. I'm going to glue that onto the card base. Okay. I'm going to take some of the pale papaya ribbon. Make sure it has a nice end. Cut off all of those fraying ends. I'm going to make a little V, and I'm going to have it so it comes off from the top. And I'm going to take that down. Add some dimensionals. And place it on top of the flowers. I'm going to just put it a bit on an angle. I'm going to put some dimensionals on this pale papaya flower. And I shall have it just off. Oh, I forgot one thing. Sorry. I forgot to add an element. Sorry. One thing we're going to add is this little doily, and I'm just going to place it in the middle. It's not straight on, it is in a diamond shape. Okay, I'm just going to tape that down, and now we can add our little tag. There we go. That's why it would look like it was missing something. And I'm going to take the flower and just off to the edge, bottom of that tag. And there it is. Add some pearls. There we go. Card number 3. For the final card, we have our Very Vanilla card base, our basic gray. We have some designer series paper and another layer of Very Vanilla. So it goes designer series paper, Very Vanilla, basic gray on the card base. So we're just going to layer that on top of each other. Actually, before we do that, we do need to score this card. We're going to score it at 2 inches. So I'm going to place it in, and I place it to 2 inches, and I'm going to score it. Okay. Where I have the score line, I'm going to fold it back 2.5 inches. We're going to score it at 2.5 inches, or you can just fold it across. Okay, I'm going to take the basic gray, added some adhesive, and I'm going to place the Very Vanilla on top. Adhere some designer series paper on top of the Very Vanilla. I'm just going to add some adhesive onto the left side. I don't want to do the whole card, otherwise it will stick together. And it will just be on that one side. Press it down so that it folds like this. Okay. Okay. What I want to do now is I'm going to make a tag. I'm going to bring in my smoky slate. And you can either use the flower or any of the other designs in here. I'm going to try it with the corner here. Okay, I got the smoky slate, and I'm going to just stamp some of this image. The flower works just as well, so I'm basically just creating a background there. Okay. Going to stamp my sentiment. just in the middle. Now, because this piece is cut down to 1 3/4, it should easily slip through. And if it's not, just make sure it's cut down. Okay, just going to cut off a little bit on one side. Turn it around. And cut a little bit off on the other. Okay, now it should slip easily in. So what I want to do is I want to slip it through, and I want to make the top of that banner with this. And I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to slip it in again. Grab the top. And I have it the same type punched on each end. Okay, and what I'm going to do, add a little, I'm just going to add a little bit of ribbon around. This time I'm going to, normally I tie it around the top, but this time let's go and kind of loop it around the back. So I'm going to loop. Oops. So finicky, it doesn't want to stick. Loop. Loop. There we go. Nicely sticks. Loop. Might need some convincing with some tape. I think it needs some convincing. So once I got that piece down, I'm going to tape it down. Loop. And a loop. We'll go looping again. There. Now, just to make sure it stays down, let's tape it down a little bit. Okay. Again, add our dimensionals. And place it on the front. There. And there we go. If you want, you could always stamp an image on the inside. And those are our cards.